Be sure to go to flipsidegaming.com and use promo code 6 for 10% off on orders over $10. While you're at it, head to the Grizzly Gentleman and do the same for I'm dying. 10% off at checkout. They're both great deers. Deers? They're deers. They're deals and helps for the show. Holy shit. This is the start to a video. What's up, Planeswalkers? 36 back with some more Magic the Gathering. Today, as I said the other day, we're gonna go ahead and jump into creating some decks for the for M21. I might do this for a couple of days in a row. I'm not entirely sure because, frankly, is there really a huge point to playing Arena other than Historic and Brawl right now? Not really. Like, there's not really a reason to play Standard right now because Standard's gonna change really soon. So I figured I would just make some decks, and I'm going to show you all how I go about making decks. This is abbreviated slightly. Instead of match timestamps in the description as well as in the pinned comment, I'm going to have timestamps to the different decks that I'm making. So today we're going to be making. I have the main decks written down. Rin Seri Brawl. We're going to do. It's going to be a standard brawl because. There aren't that many additions that Historic brings necessarily, so we're going to do Historic Shrines, and we're going to do Historic Dredge. Technically no standard deck yet. Dog Tribal, Cat Tribal, life gain with like the Vampire Patrician, like the 3 life gain matters. That as well as standard Death Touch. All of those will be standard decks that are going to come sometime in the future. So we're going to go ahead and start off here, and what I've done is for each of these deck strats, I have gone ahead and done some basic searching on Scryfall, and I'll be going through each of these individual. And I'll be putting them into AetherHub, because that's essentially the destination that I use to store all of my decks. I like AetherHub. They're cool folks there. You can contact them relatively easily on Twitter, so they're really receptive to feedback and everything. Speaking of which, I have some feedback I want to send them, but it's neither here nor there. Because of the nature of this video, is going to potentially get noisy with me clickety-clacking on my keyboard. Hopefully that's fine. Technically, there is a way to just use Scryfall to make decks, but even though it's there, that's just not how I use it. Like, it says add to deck here. Yeah, I mean, I could, but I'm not gonna. So first things first, we have Rin and Seri, which I realize need to go into commander position. We have Rin and Seri. Cool, so this is the basis. I love how this still has the incorrect set symbol. This is the jumpstart set symbol. This is the basis of the deck, right? We're going to be a red, green, white, cat, dog, tribal deck. And so what thing we'll notice is that based on the dogs, we deal damage. Based on the cats, we gain life. I would argue that should be reversed because dogs are therapeutic and cats like to destroy things. Whatever, we're not going to go there. Yet. But we do have damage synergy as well as life gain synergy. So why does that matter? Well, it matters because we can put things like a Johnny's Pridemate into the deck. Whereas initially I wasn't entirely sure if I wanted to put Pridemate in because I didn't know if we would have enough synergy there. There are sufficient number of cats that do have some sort of ability that cares about not only life gain, but also +1/+1 counters. Speaking of +1/+1 counters, we have an Animal Sanctuary we can add. Animal Sanctuary, you know, we only use this for cat and dog, but since this is Brawl in Historic, or sorry, it's not in Historic, shit, it is Brawl, so we do get some good fixing, but then I realize we're not in Historic, so we don't get all the good fixing. It shouldn't be a problem. I may have overstepped on this one. Badger's Acolyte, another cat, which can potentially do some nice things in terms of, 1, gains life, and puts 1/1 counter. So we can already see that we're starting to get some of this synergy working through, and we've only gone through a few of the cards. Now we get to our first dog. Bolthound likes us to have a wide board. Rin and Seri give us that wide board. We cast Bolthound. If we have obviously we have Rin and Seri. We cast Bolthound. We immediately get a cat token. Obviously that cat can't currently attack, but still. On the following turn, for example, we have Bolthound plus the other things. It's great. For what it's worth, Bolthound doesn't give itself the value, but whatever. Bolthund. Bronze-Hot Lion. Now this is one that I like because of the potential of putting it on Rin and Seri. Which, if you just imagine this lion, like, jumping in front of a bullet for Rin Seri, and then, like, they like, rend its skin from its body, I guess, and then, like, they're just draped under this fucking, like, Simba blanket. That's how I envision it, but Bronze-Hide Lion gives me that, that potential protection that I'm looking for. Canopy Stalker? I might need extra cats. This is one of those, and this is the way I build decks, essentially. I look for all of the cards that have potential, and you've seen this if you've seen me build, I think, the Bolas control video that I did relatively recently. I put in, like, all of the cards that I think have even the slightest bit of potential, and then I narrow it down from there. So I put Canopy Stalker in the initial batch, because it'll be easier for me to just have it here and take it out than it would be to re-find it in a new search, altogether. So we're gonna have Chandra's Mage Mutt. It's, you know, it's a 2-mana 2/2 dog, not the best, but the fact that we can, like, if for some reason we're on a board stall where both of us are playing tribal decks and neither of us can really get past the other, I can just ping them. I just keep pinging them, and it'd be great. Chandra's Mage Mutt, cool. Cub Warden. Cub Warden is fantastic because 1, it has lifelink inherently. 2, Mutate is going to work on all of our creatures because they're only cats and dogs. Although I'm realizing how strange it would be to, like, mutate a Cub Warden onto, for example, a Chandra's Mage Mutt. Like, that just feels weird. It'll become a fucking elemental cat dog. Oh my god, it'll be cat dog. I have to do this now. I'm gonna make a cat dog. But yeah, so it inherently has lifelink, and then it makes more cats with lifelink, so it's absolutely fantastic. What's really cool is that when you mutate, you still do cast the spell for its mutate cost, so you are still going to get that dog creature token. But we'll yeet Cub Warden into there. Feline Sovereign. It gives you protection from your other dogs. That shouldn't matter. I don't think there are any things in here that want my own creatures targeting my other own creatures. Yeah, like, theoretically, Bronze-Hide Lion returns to the battlefield. It's an aura. Enchanted creature. Oh, yeah, no, even Bronze-Hide Lion, if it were a dog, would still be able to enchant the cats because it comes back and doesn't target, so. But, you know, just having a good old-fashioned Lord in there is pretty important. Now, I kind of wish we had Kaladesh, because then we could have the Construct Lord that, like, is 2-mana Metallic Mimic, I think it is. It's like a 2-mana 2/1 or something, and you choose a creature type, and then, like, whenever a creature of the chosen type enters the battlefield, it gets a +1/+1 counter. Hopefully we'll be getting that soon-ish. I know a lot of people don't like... Oops. They don't like the Kaladesh block, and they don't like the idea of having it come back in, but fuck it. This is another, like, the Canopy Stalker is, like, this is added stuff. Frenzied Arinx isn't. Frenzied Arinx is decent. I'm not going to lie. Because the fact that it has Riot is nice. You can give it haste, or you can just, you know, make it a 4/4 trample, and both of those are decent. Farland Felidar. I will admit, not a lot of vigilant creatures in the deck, but it's a cat. And you might be saying, like, why are you essentially just, like, excuse me, why are you just, like, walking through all of these cards when you could have just built the decks and talked about the decks? Well, it's because I wanted to show, like, the process of how I actually go about making them, and a decent number of people seemed to enjoy the tangent I went on with yesterday's video, where I kind of just talked a little bit too fucking long about Standard. So if something like that happens, I'm not going to be averse to it. So the last couple cards we put in, Generous Stray. It draws a card. Essentially, it's there for, like, Rin and Seri, but it's another filler. I'm worried that it's going to be mostly cats, because, you know, dogs are just now getting the spotlight. This one's actually just straight up fine, because we want to go wide. I am worried that'll be, like, mostly cats, but I'm hoping it's not too much of an issue. The worry, of course, is that we're going to have a bunch of dog tokens that can't benefit from my cat tribe. So Keeper of Fables is great because it lets me draw cards, and it's a rather large cat. Pack Leader, it's a Dog Lord. Who doesn't like Dog Lord? It only protects the other dogs, unfortunately, but, you know. Pride Malkin, this is the cat that cares about +1/+1 counters and giving trample to your things. And I think there's a decent number, a decent amount of +1/+1 counter synergy. Did I actually put that card in? I did. Okay. Regaliasaur is another way of making good old-fashioned cat dog, but also it likes when you go wide. So we have a couple of different themes here. Rambunctious Mutt, I'm gonna be honest, it's not really a great card, but it is technically removal. Sabertooth Mauler, more +1/+1 counter value. Obviously, it's not great on its first turn. Arguably not great on its second turn, or on its second trigger, I should say. But by the third trigger, it should be fine. Selfless Savior. We never want to do it, but she is another way we can protect our Rin Seri, and I believe that is the end of those. Yeah. So now we have this. So we're at 21 creatures. Of these, I'm pretty sure the majority are cats. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Oh no. 4. 5. We have 5 out of 21 are dogs. Kind of them's is the breaks, unfortunately. If we go to advanced search, and these are, I use these to split up the lists and things. If we do type line dog, right? And then we do white, red, or green at most of these colors, then we go to historic, right? This essentially is why oops. T dog. I thought I did that. I've messed something up. Legal historic. At most of these colors. Type line. Dog. Or not. There apparently are no dogs in historic. There are cats. Yeah, there are cats. So I didn't even mean to do this, but this really illustrated my points. This is like the only cat in historic that I really care about. This does help because of the life gain, but still. But yeah, there just aren't enough dogs. This will become less dog-centric as time goes on, hopefully. But for right now, it's this. Oh, right, okay. So with 21 creatures, we only have 60 total cards. Technically, we're on 22 creatures. So for right now, I think that's where I'm going to keep the creatures. So what about the support? I believe... I'm actually just going to boop, advanced search, and it was they were the Brawl precons. No, damn. I'm pretty sure. Let's God. What the hell is the name of that fucking card? It's not Talisman. Arcane Signet. So we're still going to want some amount of fixing. So we're gonna put an Arcane Siggy in there. We're getting Cultivate, which is very nice. So we can put a Cultivate in there. We want some form of removal or something like that. So we're going to put in, you know, the general cards, things like Justice Strike. You know, we can throw a Lava Coil in there. Don't really like Shock. Domri's Ambush. Domri's Ambush seems decent. You know, throw Domri's Ambush in there. Might not be the best, considering, but you know, throw things like that in there. We unfortunately don't have the Ikoria Naya artifact. But we can just put a Chromatic Orb in there, you know, just cause it's important to have Chromatic Lantern. Chromatic Orb. And throw a Lantern in there. Essentially, it's just to make sure that we have more or less sufficient pump out of things. Now, we do want some sort of card draw. Unfortunately speaking, there's not a ton. So once again, we're going to head to Advanced Search. We're going to do Text Draw. I'm going to do white, red, green. At most of these colors, search. So we have... Son of a bitch. I keep doing really stupid things. Future standard. Okay, so these are the things that we essentially can use as draw. I'm gonna steer away from creatures, and technically I could do type, not creature, which is something I should do. Creature is not a creature. So now we've narrowed down to only 55 cards that aren't creature. So, you know, we go through these like, oh, cool, camaraderie. I mean, it kind of makes sense. We might want to do something like that. This isn't truly card draw. This is a bit of a meme. So, you know, we don't exactly have a ton of ways to actually go through and draw cards. Guardian Project, though. Guardian Project is a decent thing. Guardian Project is totally usable. I hate everything. For what it's worth, I'm looking at about an hour-long video, 20 for each deck. Just so as you know. Return of the Wild Speaker. It's only greatest power, and I don't suspect our creatures are going to be that strong. Season of Growth doesn't. We're not really doing anything like that. You could be looking at the lockets and say, maybe you play those. I don't think so. I don't think those are really things that I'm looking for. The Great Henge is, once again, like, this is something that isn't likely going to be super discounted. But that's one of the reasons why we're trying to play a little bit of ramp in order to get those nicely. But you can kind of see here, we don't have a ton now. Draw card, 1 mana bending color. Yeah, so this isn't ramp me, so I'm probably not going to include it. But your commander has a battlefield or attacks. Sure, we might actually want Tome of Legends here. Tome of Legends. Cool. So now, you know, we got some of those. Sure. Now instead, we're gonna do. Boop. Boop boop. And we're just gonna do type Planeswalker. We're gonna see what kind of value we can get that can assist our good boys and good cats. Good boys with an I. I don't care. So we have a Johnny Strength of Pride. Strength of Pride is fantastic because he makes the other cats that totally work with the life gain synergy. A Johnny Greatheart works with the +1/+1 counter synergy. Unfortunately, dogs and wolves are not the fucking same. I have said Canid unification. I'm okay with wolves remaining different. What about Basri? Puts 1 counter on target creature control. It gains an indestructible until end of turn. Whenever one or more natural creatures attack this turn, create them many soldiers. It makes soldiers, so I don't really want to use him. Makes soldiers. So sorry. Domri is fine. Frankly, in both iterations. So we'll take the Domri Chaos Bringer. He does make beasts. That is true. Never gonna fucking happen. Whereas with Basri, like that's the minus. Like we plan on doing that a decent amount. So we're gonna pop in another Domri. Anarch of Bolas. And then let's look at the Gideon. Gideon makes beasts. No thanks. Jing Yingu is not terrible. And the reason for that is he works with our +1/+1 counter synergy. And did I put the wrong Jing Yingu in? I did. I am garbage. There we go. And allows us to tap for some extra mana. Fuck you, Nissa. Vivian seems pretty decent. As we're 3-color, I don't think I'm going to put Arcbow in here, but Champion of the Wilds is quite good. She makes beasts, so meh. So now we're up to 37 distinct cards with only 1 land. So, I mean, that's roughly where we can stop that. So we have good old-fashioned Command Tower. We can play, obviously, all of the appropriate shocklands. So we got Temple Garden, we got Sacred Foundry, and... oh, right, red-green. That's Stomping Grounds. I play Gruul sometimes. We have Stomping Ground, and then we'll probably put the temples in there as well, just because we might need them. Temple of Plenty, Temple of Triumph, and Temple of Abandon, I believe. fantastic. So that's 8. And then, frankly, we're just going to finish off right now with some forests, some plans, and, of course, some mountains. And this is essentially just the first pass through. Gotta boop, 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 boop. 26. So that's at 62. We'll just have it at, it's probably mostly going to be green, I assume. Yeah, mostly green, then a little bit of white, so we're going to pop off mountain up plains. Why not? Nope, that's the wrong direction, dumbass. Alright, so we're at 24 lands right now. And this is roughly the deck. So we're going to go in tags, mid-range deck. Boom! First deck, done. And of course, as I said, these are going to have some changes. Deck has incorrect number of cards. 61. Should be... Fuck! I forgot that it's like this. Alright, so I do need to get rid of one thing. We're going to get rid of one of our planeswalkers. We have more than we probably need, and because this one makes things that aren't cat or dogs, we're going to yeet that. Technically, it's fine, but still. Okay, so now, visual. Cool. This is the deck for right now. As I said, probably going to change. Let's move on to the next deck, which is Rainbow Shrines. Boop. So the shrines. First things first, we put in all the shrines. That's Honden of Cleansing Fire, Honden of Infinite Rage, Honden of Life's Whips, and I should say, and I will actually get to it in just a second. But I was incorrect on my assessment of one of the shrines. My assessment of one of the shrines, and then I just straight up misread the Rainbow Shrine. We'll get to that in, as I said, just a second. But the Red Sanctum. All right, I thought this was after all the rest of the Sanctums. Sanctum of All. I initially said that this essentially this makes it so that once you have 6, this acts as a normal shrine. That is not the case. If I have one of each of these Hondens and this out, instead of Honden of Cleansing Fire triggering 6 total times, it's going to trigger... These don't trigger X number of times. You get the effect for the amount of shrines you have. They trigger once, you get the effect for the amount of times they have. Well, first of all, the Sanctum doesn't essentially just give it an extra thing, right? It's not, you get blank for each shrine you control, plus the extra one, right? It makes it trigger again, which is a lot different. So now if you have Sanctum of All plus the 5 Hondens, Honden of Cleansing Fire triggers 4/6, because you have 6 shrines, twice. So you'll get 12 on the first one, and 12 on the second one. Whereas what I was saying is that you would get 12 overall. Because I'm dumb. But yes, so Sanctum of All is even cooler than I thought. Because gaining 24 life is pretty, I mean, for what it's worth, like, if you have Sanctum of All out for at least a turn, you're probably going to be doing pretty fine. Well, that might not be true. Might not be true because of... Ooh, excuse me. Because of the fact that your opponent could be killing you. Sanctum, Fruitful Harvest. Boop. And for what it's worth, I am doing this in a historic best of 1 setting. I'm going to make a Brawl version. Initially, I said that I think Kenrith would be best. Incorrect. I've been convinced that it would be best to play Giganta. If for nothing else, then you can just tap Giganta and cast Sanctum of All. So, this is the Sanctum that I was relatively incorrect about. It is still, in my eyes, generally low, but I'll have to bump it up just a little bit, because, as was rightly pointed out to me, you can activate this whenever you need to, right? As long as you have the mana and the card in hand, you can use this on your opponent's turn to hit a problem creature, or to snipe a planeswalker before it comes to your turn. That flexibility can't be understated. So I was a little bit incorrect in my assessment of Sanctum of Shattered Heights. The fact that you can do this 1 multiple times and 2 at instant speed actually makes it quite a bit better than what I initially said. Sanctum of Stone Fangs is still probably like my best one though. My favorite one, I should say. Sanctum of Stone Fangs. And Sanctum of Tranquil Light is still meh in my eyes, but I keep forgetting why there's so many Sanctums, damn it. Okay. So for this deck, the primary cards are going to be these. There's not going to be a lot of room for extra stuff. Ailson of Life's Bounty is pretty helpful because it can protect our shrines. Additionally, it is an early body that we can just use to chump. Euphemia is, once again, an early body. She is legendary, which is unfortunate, but if one of our shrines happens to go to the graveyard, we can make use out of it. Euphemia, for what it's worth, might not actually make the final cut. This is the final card. Open up. Arcane of Sun's Grace, good old-fashioned constellation. We get some nice lifelink and stuff. Whether or not it's going to be in the final version, I'm not sure, because instead of playing Arcane of Sun's Grace, I would rather just be playing another Honden. Calyx is very nice here because it is something where I can return all of my Hondens at once. Calyx, I didn't think about initially when I was thinking about the deck, but Calyx is very nice. First of all, I can immediately look at the top for more of of my Hondens, or of my shrines, I should say. But secondarily, if we have, a couple shrines, but our opponent just has a big beefy creature, let's say something like, I don't know, a questing beast, we can go ahead and put the questing beast under one of our less likely to die shrines. And what I'm likely to tend to want to do with Calyx when I'm using the -3 is to put it under a shrine that's of low impact, right? You're not going to want to use your Sanctum of All as your Oblivion Ring, right? Because your opponent wants to get rid of Sanctum of All anyway, right? What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put this onto your Tranquil Light, or maybe if you have enough mana or whatever, your Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest, something that you're not going to be as worried about getting destroyed, or even your Seeing Winds. Like, if you're like, yeah, dude, if you know your opponent is playing removal and you're like, I'm kind of drawing too many cards here. I know that's not something Magic players say, but you can go ahead and put it under there. So that is something that's important to note as well. And for what it's worth, like, protecting him for just a couple of turns means that you can relatively quickly get to his ultimate. Dance of the Manse is very similar. If I do end up playing this, which I'm not sure, it probably would only be as a kind of a oops. Destiny Spinner is one of those where if you're going against control, you're really going to love it. If not, it is still like a decent-ish body. 2 mana, 2/3 means that your opponent can't kill it with a shock, so they'd have to use something a little bit better. It doesn't die to Savage Stomp either from Bone Crusher Giant, so it's something that is relatively nice. Enchantress's Presence, I essentially put up here because I wanted to talk about the fact that I don't think this is good for the deck. I don't really expect that we're going to be in a situation where we're not getting sufficient value that we're going to want to play Enchantress's Presence. I'm going to put that in the maybe board. Enchantress's Presence. And technically, the same can be said for some sort of satyr. It's 1 green-white 2/2 satyr whenever you cast an enchantment, draw a card. I just don't remember the fuck it's called. Hannah Ship's Navigator is very similar. So she allows us to return an enchantment from our graveyard to our hand, but she is very, very slow, and that's why I wanted to, if nothing else, bring her up so I can kind of tell people why I'm not playing it. Now, Idyllic Tutor can get you any of your enchantments. So if you really need one of your enchantments, you can go ahead and grab it with Idyllic Tutor. This is going to require you to have a decent amount of mana, so I don't actually know if Idyllic Tutor is ideal for this deck, but if nothing else, it functions as a slow version of whatever other shrine you need. The question, though, is, can you survive effectively in order to make use of Idyllic Tutor? And that, I don't know. Nessian Wanderer is Constellation, where you can keep getting some lands, and it's any land, which is very nice because our lands are going to mess us up. That's one of the weakest aspects about this deck, I think, is going to be just the mana type commitment. Setessan Champion is one where, like, if all else fails, we might just go like kill our opponent with Setessan Champion. I'm not sure. Sigil of the Empty Throne is at a mana cost where I would rather just play other shrines. So this is another one where I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's cool, and if I have room for it in a Brawl deck, then I can play it, but otherwise, Probably not. For what it's worth, you take out Idyllic Tutor and Dance of the Dance. That's only 2, so 11. You do have 11 shrines alone, and I think that is sufficient. And I think I talked about that in yesterday's video. Roughly 33%, or roughly 33 cards is what you're going to be able to work with once you deal with your lands and commander, right? Because that was what? Let's say 25. Oh, no, I said 27 because it's a slower deck, so you're gonna need the lands. But you have 27 land or 26 lands plus your commander, let's say Giganta. Then you're gonna have 33 cards left. A third of those are gonna be your shrines. So I do think it is reasonable to still run some sort of shrine deck in Brawl. Now, that said, I do kind of wish that I still had access to Fires of Invention, because Fires of Invention with this deck would be helpful. Would it be nutso? Maybe, but it allows you to play jank, because let's be honest, this is some sort of jank. God. Dryad of the Elysian Grove is 1, an enchantment, and 2, allows me to mana fix a little bit better. Elsewith Conquers Death is something that I'm going to keep in my mind, but likely this is for the enchantment, maybe like all enchantment Giganta deck, right? Same with Elspeth's Nightmare. This goes into the, well, it's not going to fit into what I want for this, but it might fit into something else. Nixley's Ram helps us survive. Whether or not it's going to make the final cut, I don't know. And of course, there's Shark Typhoon. Shark Typhoon works hilariously with all of these, but once again, it's probably better saved for the Brawl deck. Now, once again, we're at this, so that means that these are all of the main cards that I saw, and I was considering for this deck. So now we're gonna put in the requisite, let's say 25 lands, right? It's historic, which is nice, but it's still just historic. So we have access to all 10 temples. We have access to all of the shocks and all the checks. I'm going to essentially put one of each of those in. And that's not because that's what I think the mana base should be. It's because I don't know how to make the mana base. It's going to be primarily green, because you're going to want things like Setessan Champion, or sorry, Dryad of Elysian Grove and Nessian Wanderer, right? You're definitely going to want those. In secondary, it's probably going to be white. One, because once again, you're going to want something for the white cards that you're playing in the main deck. And then, of course, you're going to want things for, like, Calyx. So it's going to be green-white base with some little extra thrown in there. Excuse me. But I don't know exactly what I'd like. For what it's worth, it should be noted that if you don't run Archon of Sun's Grace, you can get away with running Giganta as a companion in this deck, right? Because all of these shrines are covered on that rule. No more than one of the same mana pip, whatever, in the mana cost. That is absolutely okay if you take out Archon. Technically speaking, the companions are a little bit worse. No, they're worse, except for Urian, which is great. But it's still essentially a free card. So, there's that. Let's see. So, yeah, so I'm not going to do it on screen, but that would be, there's 10 per, so that's what? That's technically 30 lands, plus Fabled Passage, which I wouldn't even be able to play. So I don't even think you can play, basic lands, most likely. I mean, more realistically, I don't think you play the check lands. Yeah, I think realistically speaking, you only play shocks, temples, and do you even play temples? Yeah, that's the thing. The mana base is the thing I'm really unsure about. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna do. I can't do waste. Fuck it, I'll do waste. Waste. And I'm doing this because there it is. I'm doing this essentially just to show anyone who looks at this that it's not actually meant to be wastes. But yeah, I mean, it kind of is here to show how much room we actually have in the deck. So, you know, let's say we want 3 Calyx, all of these Sanctums, or most of these Sanctums, we know how many we want. We want 4 of these. Even though they're legendary, we want to hit this every game. As I said before, Honden of Cleansing Light, let's say 3, Infinite Rage 3. Then we have... which one was it? It was Sanctum of this, we want 3, and Sanctum of this, we want 3, right? So already, we're at 62. Not looking the best. Sanctum of Tranquil Light, I only want 1 of them. This, I think for most of these, I do only want a couple. So let's do 2 for that, 2 for this. I actually think I would rather have Calm Waters. And let's do 2 for that. We're at 66 now. It's getting a little tight. Thirst for Meaning. I'm going to go ahead and cut this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this to, well, it says move to sideboard, whatever, it's fine. Technically it should be in the maybe board, but I don't think there's currently a way to do that. That's one of the things I would like to talk to Aetherhub about. Idyllic Tutor. We don't have necessarily a ton of room, but let's say, right, we are running Idyllic Tutor, and that can kind of substitute for one of these. So let's go ahead and say we run 3, we cut this down to 3, and then we cut a couple of the 3s down a little bit. So let's cut these down to 2. Sure, let's go with that. So we're still at 64. That's still too much. So what are the creatures that I really want, right? Starfield Mystic is nice because it makes things cheaper, but I would, generally speaking, rather include something the fuck else. Cetessan Champion, once again, like, if we're trying to make this specifically a Honden or Shrine deck, I do think Champion is not meant to be here. So now we have, you know, these, right? Archon of Sun's Grace, once again, it kind of removes the focus from the shrines. Euphemia, very similarly, she exiles our shrines, which means that we can't get them back with things like Dance of the Manse and Calyx. For what it's worth, at this point, we're seeing, well, we have Calyx, Dance of the Manse is probably too cute, we're going to go ahead and cut it. Okay, so now we're left with these creatures. We can see that we already are not going to have the highest amount of creatures that we can use. So let's once again go to the shrines and see, are there any that we can cut a little bit more. I would say, so let's see, I think Stonefang's even we can put to 2. Yes, so most of them are at 2. We have Fruitful Harvest and all at 3. Harvest helps us cast the rest. All just gives us to them. Idyllic Tutor can go grab whatever we want, specifically Sanctum of All. Yeah, okay, sure. So, let's see. Destiny Spinner is one of those cards where, against control, it's great. Against everything else, it doesn't necessarily matter. And also, it protects our damn enchantments. Nyxly's Ramp protects our life total. Nessian Wanderer lets us continue to get land. So I think I can get rid of one of these. Oh no, because then I could get rid of one. No, I'd have to get rid of like 2 and have a 3-2 split, I think. That's with 25 lands, because I do think this number of Calyx is necessary. I think out of these, Dryad of the Elysian Grove is the most important, so I think I want 3. We're going to go ahead and put this in the sideboard. And we're going to go ahead and put Nyxly's Ram in the sideboard as well. I can't do basic math. So if we're going to have one more thing, I think technically it should be Nessian Wanderer. Look at the mana distribution. So we got a lot of 3s, which is very important. Because what we want to do, essentially, is on turn 2, we play Nessian Wanderer. On turn 3, we play a Shrine. Or, yeah, we play a Shrine. We get a land. We get to continue playing lands and playing Shrines. So that is essentially the deck here. Obviously, it's not perfect. This one's going to be a control jank. And obviously it's going to be illegal because wastes are not legal in Standard, but they're there as placeholders. So yeah, so far, this is what this deck looks like. And you can see, it's a lot of shrines. It's just a lot of fucking shrines. But yeah, okay, sure. So we have this. And then last, but absolutely not least, we have Dredge. We have Historic Dredge. This one is going to be the easiest of the decks to build, because I essentially have already had a deck. I uploaded this relatively recently, and I think it was like right before I saw this card. So this is like the easiest deck, as I said. All right, the things that we want. We want 4 Silver Smote Ghoul. Yeet, yeet, yeet. Right, we want 4 of those. We want 4 Narcomoebas. And we want 4 Creeping Chills. Right, those are the core of the deck. Creeping Chill. These are the core of the deck. Okay. Now, how are we going to put things into the yard? Well, we have things like Mire Triton, Gorging Vulture, things like that. I did look at some other ways of putting things into the yard, and we are going to potentially want some other ways to gain roughly 3 life, because we're not always going to have access to this shit. So some of the things that I thought were pretty interesting is cards like Final Parting and Gravebreaker Lamia here, is that you get to put the card from your graveyard directly, or from your library directly into the graveyard. The thing is, they're both too cute. They cost a little bit too much. Let's see. This, I would have to have a lot of creatures in order to essentially guarantee that I'm going to get the sufficient life gain to get the ghouls out. But Gorging Vulture is relatively nice because, let's say, what are my ways that I'm going to decide to win? Well, I can go a super creature heavy route in order to make it a little bit more likely that I'm going to be able to pull off the life gain. So Law of the Giant then seems to be a relatively good idea, right? So let's go with that. Let's say we want maximum Gorging Vultures. We want max Gorging Vultures. Cool. What about Atris? Right, Atris, we get to choose. We get to choose the things we keep. Is it necessary? I'm not sure that it is. Right now we're just blue-black. I do suspect that we're going to hit into green relatively soon here. Mire Triton gains me 2 life, but it doesn't gain me 3. But I mean, we might even stick to Dimir at this point, because what we can do, is, knowing that we have Mire Triton, we can then run Dismal Backwater. So what Dismal Backwater is going to do is it's going to give us that last point of life when we play a Mire Triton. Now, obviously, it's not going to work all the time, but it's still going to work some of the time. So we have that. You don't gain this life. No. How rude. So we're at essentially 20 cards at this point, right? We don't know yet if we're going to be mono if we're going to be Dimir or not. So let's go back here. Right, scroll back up. All right, so Ashiok, it does put things in our graveyard, but I don't think it cares. We're gonna, for right now, we're gonna put in 2 Atris. We're gonna just put in 2 Atris. Atris is just generally good. Cavalier of Thorn is something that we might want to use because it's pretty decent, but it is triple green pip. A2 Extinction is relatively speaking nice because it's removal, but for right now we're gonna steer away from it. I will click it like that. Enter the God Eternals, very similar. We are going to gain 4, and we get to put a bunch of stuff in the yard. This one, in fact, I'm gonna go ahead and just put it in. I think Enter the God Eternals is relatively good for a deck like this. We're gonna gain some life. We get to kill a creature, and we mill ourselves for 4. What is not to love, essentially? I guess the mana cost, but even then, mana cost isn't too much of an issue. I could do Fiend Artisan, because what Fiend Artisan allows me to do is it allows me to sacrifice, one of my already used any of these creatures essentially to try and go get potentially Lawless Giant. Okay, it does cost a decent amount. It does cost a decent amount. Like, in order to get a Lawless Giant, it would cost 9, 8. It would cost 8 total. but still, Fiend Artisan, and we can, for what it's worth, we can still stick it as being just Dimir, which will help us with the fact that we might want to run Dismal Backwater. So for right now, we're gonna say 2. We're gonna say 2 Fiend Artisans for right now. So what other things do we have? This is historic, right? Garuda. We obviously couldn't play Garuda as a companion, right? We just have too many things we want to use. Is it even worth it to run, generally speaking? And I would say no. We would get some things sometimes, but generally speaking, it's just not worth it, especially considering Loth Giant is odd. Ooh, excuse me. So, Jace isn't a creature, but, you know, theoretically, Jace isn't an alternate win condition, so maybe. Liliana, how many zombies do we have? We have 1 zombie, 2 zombie, and I believe 3 zombie. Liliana Untouched by Death might be worth it because it means that we can cast our Lawless Giants. So for right now, let's actually just go to sideboard. We'll put in Liliana Untouched by Death. We'll put in Eat to Extinction. I'm actually making pretty good time on these. A lot better time than I thought. And we'll put a Jace from State Farm in there. Jace, I was legit about to type in from State Farm. So we'll throw a Jace from State Farm in there. All right, cool. I think that was kind of it. Yeah, I don't think that putting Gravebearer Lamia into the deck make. Although she does have lifelink. She does have lifelink. I'm gonna put her in the sideboard for now because the fact that she has lifelink might actually make it so she's worth some sort of slot. Could be wrong. Might not be wrong. Let's see. Search your library for a black card with converted mana cost less than equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Reveal put in your hand. Is that worth it? I don't think it is, to be honest. Mystic Sanctuary doesn't really matter. These are going to get exiled. This we're probably not going to want to necessarily draw too often. Nexus Fate. Look, I'm not a bad person. I'm not doing that. Let's see. Searcher's Canta. No. I was thinking because, like, I get to put things in there. Right! I forgot about Stitcher Supplier. So Titan's Dredge is standard. Stitcher Supplier is historic. And when we add Stitcher Supplier, it makes this Liliana even better. And it's a double trigger for what it's worth. Let's see. You can make an argument for Cauldron. I'm not going to. Timur Calls the Dead. You can make an argument for it, but I don't like that you have to exile things from your graveyard to get your value out of it. Wall of Lost Thoughts is nice because of the fact that you can protect yourself. Geez. Witch's Cottage is more interesting in my opinion than the other one, and that's primarily because of the fact that you can put particularly Narcomoeba back on top, but I don't know if it's actually going to be good enough to be in the deck. So yeah, that's kind of it. Just rechecking all of these. Sir Conrad is another potential, like, alternate win condition. So what I could do as well is Clear the Mind and Mystic Sanctuary. And that way I potentially don't mill out, but I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue. So I think then, with what I've seen so far, I think we do go ahead and decide this is going to be just Dimir. We're going to put in 2 Lawless Giants. I always want to say it's Lol Teth Giant, but it's Lotleth Giant. Like, I'm saying it correctly, but I'm not fucking spelling it correctly. So let's yeet 2 Lawless Giants in there. We're going to put 2 Liliana Untouched by Death. And we'll put in 2 Jaces as well. Jace from State Farm. Oop, oop. I guess technically I could have just done that from here, but whatever. Okay. So. I'm going to need the lands. It's not going to be too terribly hard. Watery Grave. Temple of Deceit. And Drowned Catacomb. When you've played the game long enough, you'll just, like, learn all of the damn lands. Then, of course, we're going to want some Islands. Some Islands. Some Swamps. Fucking goddammit. Plains is the only one that's plural innately. Technically. Oh, yeah, we're heavy black. Does that mean I want Witch's Cottage? Witch's Cottage also means I get to buy back a Lawless Giant just in case. So sure, let's throw a couple Witch's Cottages in there. And it'll just be literally a couple. Witch's Cottage. Okay, Witch's Cottage, let's say 2. And then we'll do this and this. Sure. And that's 61. So we gotta cut 1 card. We got 26 creatures, 2 Fiend Artisans, 2 Atris. I mean, that all seems fine. I think I'll cut a single End of the God Eternals. So this is kind of the provisionary, just Dimir Dredge. This really should say Creeping Dredge. Thank you. This is going to be Control Jank, Combo Jank. Combo Jank? Combo Jank. It's technically about the combination. So yeah, then the idea is you yeet a bunch of these things into your graveyard, and then you kill them with Lawless Giant. I mean, the thing is, like, you can also just, you kill them with, like, general value as well, right? Like, you could just keep nickel and diming them. So let's see. Gorging Vulture, if I have 26 creatures, that's, what, 42%? Something like that? I'm not going to do the math all the way in my head. 26 divided by 60. 43%. My bad. I was close. So that's 43% of the deck are creatures. So for what it's worth, the chance of hitting all 3 creatures with Gorging Vulture in order to gain 3 life is relatively low. But all that means is that it makes my Dismal Backwaters a little bit better. And what I might end up doing in this deck is I might need to drop a few of the Witch's Cottages and potentially the Temples in order to play a couple of off-color of these plains. And because we have Fiend Artisan, it would be blue-green and black-green. So, you know, play 8 total gain lands. And that's another route that you can take to make it a little bit more likely that you can hit on your Mire Tritons and your Gorging Vultures. The top 3 cards of the library into your graveyard. If at least one of them is a zombie card, we've got 4, 8, 12, 16 zombies? I mean, that's not terrible. It's not, you know, it's not a ton, but once again, if we gain 2 life, we have even more reason to use the Dismal Backwater package. So we have a few ways of the potential of gaining life. It does mean you're going to want to like potentially hold your Dismal Backwaters, and that's one of the reasons I think it's more correct to just use instead of Witch's Cottage and Temple of Deceit. I think I'm going to reflect that in the sideboard. So, ooh, this is a difficult one. So I know one of them is Thornwood Falls. Thornwood Falls. Okay, cool. Thornwood Falls. The green black one is, no, Foul Orchard is the one that doesn't gain life, I think. Yeah, Foul Orchard does not gain you life. Damn it. Okay. Oh, fudge. I don't think I know the green black one. I unfortunately do not believe that I know the green black one. So we're gonna go to this. We're gonna do, because I think they got reprinted. We're gonna do Corset. We're gonna scroll all the way down. Excuse me, what? Oh, there we go. These are all the special treatments. Blah, blah, blah. Where are the lids? I regret scrolling this far down. It is... So New Tranquil Cove. Rugged Highlands. Jungle Hollow! Okay. Jungle Hollow. Sure. So I think frankly that might be better based on just the number of things going on here. So yeah, it's possible. What's the average CMC here? Yeah, I will say Aether Hub, their biggest issue is the recommended lands. Average CMC though is 3.11. I think 24 is probably reasonable for this. Yeah. All right, so these are all of the decks. I'm not going to link them into... Well, fuck it. I'll link these three deck lists as you see them here, essentially. And I'll put timestamps in the description, as well as the pinned comment on when I start talking about each of these decks. I do hope you've enjoyed this little thing. If you'd like to see me work on, Dog Tribal, Cat Tribal, Death Touch, and the 3 life gain decks as well. I'm just now seeing Radiant Fountain. I don't know, but I am going to just go ahead and put Radiant Fountain in here, okay? I'm just going to put Radiant Fountain. Okay? I'm not saying you should. I'm just saying you could, okay? But yeah, let me know if you want to see that, or if... Wait, never mind. What the hell is today? Today's Tuesday. Yeah, no. What the fuck am I talking about? I'm going to be recording for Bolas. What the fuck? Never mind. Wednesday's the video's still Bolas. Shut the fuck up. Wait. It's Tuesday today, which means it's Bolas Day tomorrow. Lord Bolas is not going to like being relegated to Thursday, but I just spent an hour recording this, so it's going to go up on Wednesday. Oops. I'd like to thank my lovely patrons for the continued support. I'll be needing it because Lord Bolas, I'm sure, is not going to be happy. If you'd like to join them and support the show, you'll find links to that down in the description below. I do, of course, hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, tap that like button, add subscription to your mana pool, cast a comment in the comment section down below, pass the turn and the vid to some of your friends. Of course, until next time, all will be one.